Thank you all for joining. I'm Hema Seshadri. Thank you for joining us at the Akamai Technology Headquarters. And for those who are here for the first time at Akamai, welcome. We are so happy to have you. And for those who who attended the November edition of Internet of AI Agents demo, welcome again. So a little bit of background for folks who don't know Akamai technology. So we have, this was started in many years ago, many decades ago, right across at MIT. Our CEO and co-founder, Tom Layden, was a professor at MIT. And any of you who doesn't know what Akamai does, so if anybody who's holding a phone in their hand, behind the scenes, Akamai is providing the internet for you, right? So the internet of today will not be the way it is without Akamai's contribution and the contribution of all the folks who've been working for the last couple of decades on this. What else does Akamai do? In addition to the internet technology, we also are cloud providers. We acquired Linode a couple of years ago, and so competing with the Amazons and the hyperscalers. And yeah, we have a huge footprint in the security space as well. So again, security, compute, internet is what we do. And so we are extremely well positioned to handle the future, whatever that is, right? So is it the Internet of AI agents, it's the agent societies, or kind of, but whatever the future holds, we are in a position to kind of tackle that and pivot rapidly to the kind of emerging technological landscape. So I think you're all waiting together today, very excited about learning about the Internet of AI agents. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time keeping you away from the exciting lineup of speakers we have. But I do want you all to take this opportunity to introduce yourself to two people in the room. So you can take the easy way out and just kind of introduce yourself to the person on the left and to the right of you. So let's spend the next 2 minutes doing that, because and folks who don't have anyone the left of you and right of you, you have to just walk around. So Ramesh, you're expected to get up and move. You just one. It's two. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Can I get everybody's attention? Huh? Like, like tap it or something? Yeah, it's okay. Can I get everybody's attention? So maybe I didn't tell the rules of engagement, right? So if you already know the person sitting next to you, maybe you should kind of try to learn, interact with somebody you don't know. So for example, Chris and Nick, you're saying hi to each other. That doesn't count, but that's okay. Since they are the organizers, we'll let that slide. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. All right. Okay, all right. I've got all your attention now. So thank you again for coming here. And one of the reasons we are holding this event is not only for you all to learn about the Internet of AI agents, but also this is a community building exercise. So we have the folks from MIT, from Cisco, Dell, and all parts of the world and different organizations here, and lots of students from Northeastern and MIT. And so let's kind of through this community, the community building effort, we not only learn about each other's technologies, but also build, like, make Boston and Cambridge an AI-centric forum, right? So I'm going to hand the mic to Ramesh. You're up, Ramesh.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Hema. Thank you, Akamai, for hosting us. How do I go to the next slide? Just, all right, good. That's Hema. That's me. So I'm going to talk about the internet of AI agents. And this is a research we have been doing in my group at MIT for almost 10 years. And every time I talk about it, people say, what is it again? What is it? And I really want to thank OpenClaw and Peter for finally explaining to everybody what it is. I had done such a poor job over the last 10 years, but I think just in 1 week. How many people know here about Maltbot or OpenClaw? And how many people have their OpenClaw agent? That's pretty good. We have 3 people here. Anybody on Maltbook as well, posting? I mean, what we're hearing is actually just humans posting. It's not really agents posting. Only about 10,000 apparently posting so-called 1.5 million agents. So let's ignore the PR trick there. But there's something amazing happening over the last few days. Yeah, see? The voice of God is saying the same thing. So it's kind of amazing that we have this, and we are not that far away from a world where every one of us will have our own agent. We have our friends from Dell, and I could imagine they're converting every laptop into an agent, that just runs, magically, very safe and very secure, I would imagine, unlike OpenClaw. So I think there's something interesting. We're transitioning from a world of AI to AI agents to the internet of AI agents. And this is a very important shift because right now we're in a mainframe era of AI, where just a handful of companies control the AI ecosystem. From there, we're going to move to the PC era of AI. Everybody, has agents. To the intranet, where within an organization we can have many agents working. To the internet, and finally to the World Wide Web of agents. The internet was about connecting machines. The World Wide Web was about connecting people. And NANDA, which is the network AI agents in decentralized architecture, is about connecting agents. By the way, you can probably realize that we retrofitted the acronym in NANDA. It's also the name of my sister. So again, 1 billion, maybe 1 trillion agents, navigating on the open web, right? And we'll be there very, very soon. And we're going through these 3 phases. In the beginning, it's all about infrastructure, your driver's license, your passport. Then it's about the economy, getting a job, selling your skills. But soon after that, agentic societies. We have been showing this slide for, I don't know, at least a year now. And, on the right, as you can see, agents will create their own stock market. They'll create their own universities, their own religion, and so on. And now I just feel like this message is so old because, Mort book already explained how this could be done in a scammy way, but nevertheless, they put the message out there. So this was the most important slide today, which is on the bottom axis in these 3 phases, is where all the protocols are emerging. And there's a lot of battle. There's a battle of protocols going on. Battle of protocols, battle of partnerships going on. But don't worry about that. Let them duke it out. The next level is interesting, which is not the syntax plane, but the control plane and the system plane, right? That's what's going to happen in the layer above that. And then finally, what really excites me, and a lot of research at MIT, is about the global plane. What happens when you have the internet of agents? They're all talking to each other, as opposed to worrying about what are we doing for one agent. So it's one thing to say kind of a message bus and A2A where 2 agents can talk to each other, MCP, you can talk to one tool. But you need to think about, it's almost like a telephone exchange. How the whole world, I can pick up the phone and call, a extension at a hotel in Philippines. Whether I use a landline or mobile phones or IP phones and whatever they're using, the whole thing just seamlessly works. And by the way, it's bi-directional. I can initiate a call, they can initiate a call, and so on. So with this new telephone exchange that we have to build, right? And that's what's going to happen. In the middle column, yes, we see transaction protocols like AP2 and X.4, which is great. But very soon we're going to worry about we can price services, but how are we going to price knowledge? How are we going to price data? How are we going to price intelligence, right? How are we going to build reputation, not just based on like a Yelp-like external score, but reputation of what work you have done. So just like there's proof of work and proof of stake, we need proof of intelligence, and so on, right? So it's a very exciting time for us. At the same time, all of us here, and Hema said it really well, are here to build a community because we want to keep this an open agentic web, just like a World Wide Web, as opposed to what you see on the right, which is what you would see with iOS or Android or Facebook and Twitter, which are these walled gardens that lead to a lot of disintermediation, and also opaque governance. And so right now we're on this dangerous path where one company or two companies could build the best diabetes agent in the world, the best mental health bot in the world, the best math teacher in the world, and all of us will just be these passive consumers. I would call intelligence slaves that are simply using those products, right? And we have to kind of flip that. And if you're philosophical about Adam Smith and 1776, it's like the local knowledge, the distributed creativity is what's going to create the invisible hand and usher in the shared prosperity and the middle class. So we won't spend time too much about that today, right? So I think we're in this phase where right now for the next 6 months, it's intense protocol wars and partnerships wars. Everyone's trying to stitch up their partnerships. 6 months after that, there are platform effect. Any player that has more than 100 million users is going to try and use their platform effects, network effects in an unethical manner. And then 6 months after that, there'll be complete lock-in. There'll be a lot of dependencies. There's innovation friction. If you use our cloud, it'll be 10% cheaper. If you use our LLMs, it'll be 5% cheaper. If you use our tools that are more compatible and so on, there'll be complete innovation friction. And this is pretty much game over. The whole ecosystem will be run by 3, 4, maybe 5 big players. And we all will be, disintermediated. Or we could be on this green curve where we use two-way open protocol that we're going to hear about today, like NANDA, like Agency and many others. And .orgs will emerge, like what we are talking about today, like a new Mozilla, a new ICANN, new ITF will emerge, and the long tail will win. And the good thing about OpenClaw is that people are using it for really silly purposes. Make a phone call, order pizza for me. This is exactly what we want. Because when the World Wide Web started taking off in the mid-90s, people are doing really silly things like putting up their recipes online or recording pictures of their dogs and things. None of these were enterprise applications. And that's what really kept the World Wide Web open. And we want a lot of silly stuff out there to keep the agentic web open as well. All right. And then, we're doing things at scale. So I'm just going to India in 2 weeks. And we're working with the Indian government to see if we can launch one agent for every citizen. 1.4 billion agents, because some countries already have the identity rail, payment rail, and so on. So if you're interested in working on that, we're going to do a pilot in about 1 year at this festival called Kumbh Mela, where about 30 million people show up in 30 days. All right, so what are we doing at NANDA? I'm going to go through this very quickly. One is on the right side, you see agent frameworks. On the left side is like the OSS stack, the 7-layer OSS stack. That's what we need to build for agents. And as I said, in our group, we have been working this for almost 10 years, building different pieces of the Internet of AI agents. And if you're interested in joining our efforts at MIT or at Project NANDA, MIT is MIT Research. Project NANDA is a nonprofit that's separate from MIT. But there's a lot of interesting research and development that's going on in each of these areas. And we like to think of ourselves kind of for Horizon 2, Horizon 3 goals. We're not focusing on kind of the protocol wars and things like that. We're thinking 2 to 5 years ahead in this area. Again, working with some amazing players. Some of them are sitting here in the audience. A lot of research, a lot of papers. And in phase 1, we talked about 3 phases: foundations, economy, and agent societies. In phase 1, we are focusing on 4 specific problems in the infra. The first one is registry. Second one is passport. Third one is interoperability. And fourth is attestation. I'll go through this very quickly. We'll talk more about it during the panel. So the first one, it started with collaboration with all these companies, along with MIT, of like, what does the new DNS look like? A global DNS. So the global DNS right now supports about 300 million websites, that's it. But the global DNS for agents will support billions of agents. And the metadata is going to change much more frequently than the metadata for websites. Later on, we started working with our friends at Akamai, especially Zong Ginki. Is John here? All right. Everybody has to take a photo with John because he worked on ARPANET. He worked on the whole curve. And every time I talk to John, I learned so much. Of course, again, our friends at Cisco on different types of coordination of agent populations and so on. So a lot of the NANDA work has been evolving with many of these partners over the last, let's say, about 18 months or so. So I would encourage you to go read these papers. But for every paper, there's a reference implementation that companies are building forward as well. And then most recently, our friend Vijay at Agency made me realize that there are zero interoperabilities between registries of different organizations. So we said, let's create the first phone call. This is like the 150th 150 anniversary of the first phone call that Alexander Graham Bell made. This year is the 150th. We said, let's make the first phone call between a NANDA ecosystem and a Cisco ecosystem. That was a beautiful phone call. And then for this registry, clearly MIT should not host it. It has to be a neutral entity. So that's the neutral entity that's hosting the registry at 15 different universities. The second is the choke point, which is every agent needs to have its own metadata, which we call agent facts. There's a whole schema behind it. I won't spend too much time on that for right now. The third one is you need universal adapters. Any protocol should be able to talk to any other protocol and have a schema around that. And the fourth one, we'll talk more about that, and Maria is going to come on the stage and show you, is the universal attestation, which is beyond trust. Trust would be like who you are, but attestation is what do you do and can I trust what you do. So I believe Uzma is right here in the front row, and she's going to come and talk about maybe the most important problem in the world, which is when children are using AI agents. And if you can believe, there are toys on the market for about $100. These are ChatGPT AI teddy bears. And I know, did you bring some? Okay, you have some here. And children are talking to these agents at the age of 8, 9. What could go wrong? Right? So Uzma is going to come and talk about that. So that's also built on top of this Nest platform. So this is a platform that's open to developers. I'll just flip through it. Credentialing, observability, control panels, and so on, right? But nevertheless, we think there's going to be a lot of chaos. Agents are going to be wipe-coded. We have no clue what they're doing. There's going to be a lot of technical debt. There are going to be intent mapping errors. There'll be routing errors. Of course, observability will be out of, very soon, unmanageable, and so on. So I think each of these bullets are going to be like a multi-billion-dollar companies over the next few years. So take a picture of that, because there's going to be whole new fields that are going to emerge in the agentic space. That's out there. So Maria is going to talk a little bit about how you can create your own AI agents. So right now, if you use OpenClaw or LangChain or Crew, they kind of sit on their own. So we have a layer at Project NANDA that sits on top of it. So you can bring any agent and it becomes available on the internet. And then Join 39 also allows you to talk to any other platform, right? So right now you're kind of locked into if you use OpenClaw or LangChain and so on, right? And then if you're a developer or even if you're a student, you can apply for fellowships. These are paid fellowships. They pay out like $10,000 to $15,000. And if you're a company that want to sponsor open source developers on a platform, you should sponsor that as well. I think some of the developers are here, and Ashu runs our fellowship program. So say hello to him, and he might tell you more about it. Some screenshots. There's a very active community. Our friends were asking, like, how come we have such a great audience? First of all, because you're amazing. And second, the small role we play here is we have a massive community with Project NANDA. And Chris, our president, is right here. So join the WhatsApp group. You'll get updates on other events that are going on, developer events, enterprise events, speaker series, research events, and so on. On the right side is our LinkedIn page. So to conclude, for research, we're thinking 2 to 5 years ahead, what could happen in this space. So come and work with us. We're not building agent framework. We are not building single registries. We're trying to build a telephone exchange here. A very active GitHub code base, an enterprise-grade code that you can use. A lot of collectives. We also have a youth council. If your son or daughter or your nephews and niece, in high school or college want to get involved, this is going to be, another issue because, a lot of youth are very passionate about climate rights, but they also have to be very aware of their agentic rights very soon. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh. Next up, we're going to be transitioning over to talk a little bit about Agency, a Linux Foundation-backed project. Here we will be having John Cardente from Dell and Timothy Swanson from Cisco.
Thank you. Where are the slides? There we go. They're not here, hence my confusion. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. We very much appreciate it. I'm sure the pizza played a factor, but I'm hoping you get a lot out of coming here as well from the information we're going to share. My name is John Cardente. I'm a senior distinguished engineer at Dell Technologies. I work in our chief AI office. I'm within our AI engineering team that is helping to drive the adoption of AI and agentic technologies inside of Dell to drive and transform our business. And with me is Tim. And Tim, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, I'm Tim Swanson. I'm with Cisco in the open source program office. I'm a principal engineer, and I help bring projects like Agency into foundations. I help contribute, and within Cisco, there's a big initiative with, like every company, with AI open source work, and so I'm very involved with that.
Excellent. And we're here to talk about Agency, as Tim just said. So what is Agency? Agency is an open source project. It was originally created by Cisco's Outshift organization. It was open sourced, I believe, in early 2025, around March. It has since been donated to the Linux Foundation. There are 5 companies that are formative member companies: Dell, Cisco, Google, Oracle, and Red Hat. And it has over 80 collaborating organizations. And it is attempting to solve a lot of the problems that Ramesh touched on. And you're going to see a lot of rhymes with our presentation and Ramesh's presentation, because there is a problem space that is forming that we're all recognizing and we're starting to pursue. So what is the core problem? Again, this feels like a little bit of an understatement after the excellent talk that we just had, but we've all witnessed the transformation of AI over the past years, from traditional predictive machine learning to the emergence of Gen AI, to the emergence of chatbots that are able to help us, answer simple questions, to AI assistants that had access to things like RAG databases to do a little bit better question answering and things like that. And now we're starting to see agents emerge that are actually able to help us do tasks. And specifically, for most of us, in terms of the coding agents we're all using on our laptops, we're seeing teams of agents and the power that that has in not having one agent that can do everything, but teams of agents that are specialized, that can work together to start solving some really complicated tasks. And so that's where we're headed. It's pretty clear. And beyond that desktop use case, again, there's a number of use cases that are emerging where we foresee having teams of agents tackle these complex problems are going to offer tremendous value. We have some examples up here. You can imagine in a manufacturing setting, if you have a big manufacturing, pipeline, and you have a number of sensors that are looking at how things are being built along the way, and each one is sort of making, decisions around the quality of parts and things like that, or whether or not there's production failures. Or you could think about transportation, monitoring large public transport networks and trying to identify problems and things like that. There are an endless number of examples that we could talk about, and again, I think Ramesh touched on a few as well. The problem is, once you get out of that desktop environment, once you start thinking about enterprise use cases, which is primarily where I'm focused on within Dell, and you think about the B2B in particular use cases, you very quickly realize you're in a world where your agents are coming from different vendors, right? You're going to have agents that come from your CRM vendor. You're going to have agents come from your ITSM vendor. You're going to have agents come from whatever other vendors you're working with, maybe your supply chain vendors, right, if you're getting parts. And so they're all not your agents. They've all been developed using different frameworks, because as developers, we all like the framework that best matches the way that we think, and that's great. We want diversity there. They may all run in different locations. They may all run in different clouds. They may run on your premises. a lot of enterprises are still uncomfortable putting their data out on the web. And so we at Dell believe that the ability to do agentic AI on-prem is going to be really important to a lot of our biggest enterprise customers. And so they're going to be everywhere. You know, security, identity is really difficult in this space. You know, you really have to have strong access controls to make sure agents don't have access to data that they shouldn't have. We don't want, you know, that lethal trifecta of someone being able to put in an unsecured input into an agent and extracting proprietary confidential information. You could imagine a finance agent accidentally leaking quarterly results before they're publicly announced and the kinds of problems that might cause. Belong to different organizations, different profiles. I don't have to drain all these words. I think you get the point, right? The problem is that we're looking at integrating a diversity of agents across multiple environments and building robust systems out of them, both for enterprise and I think that plays out into the future with the Internet of Agents for all of us, right? We want to be able to trust these things as they start doing more and more on our behalf. And so going to build this out. You know, I don't want to oversimplify this because it's not a simple problem. And again, Ramesh touched on a lot of the same kinds of things. But if you want to boil it down into some basics, discovery and identity is a key challenge here. We're talking a lot tonight about discovery in the forms of registries and how we want to build those. How do we make those interoperable and scalable and all those kinds of things and trustworthy? Identity is a huge part of this. Authorization and authentication, being able to attest that this agent that I'm talking to is the agent that I think I'm talking to. It's not spoofed. It's not somebody pretending to be my CRM. And then making sure that I give that agent an identity that describes the permissions it has and restricts the things that it can do so that we can still do things like role-based access control and transaction-based access control, all those kinds of things. And then when it gets really interesting with agents is that they may be acting on their own, totally autonomously, but a lot of times they're going to be acting on our behalf. And so now there's this new thing that they have to convey, which is, well, I'm agent A, but I'm acting on behalf of user B. And I have to, as I go and talk to the next agent in a workflow or access an MCP server, I have to be able to express, well, this is who I am. But this thing that I'm trying to do is really on behalf of this person. So that when you do that authorization check, when you do that role-based enforcement, it has to take on the persona of the person I'm representing. And you need to do that with full observability because we need to be able to go back and figure out things like post-event forensic analysis. If something went wrong, why did it go wrong? Who did what? And then also eventually make that a more real-time activity where we have guardrails in place and circuit breakers to stop things from happening when we see that they're happening. But that's all based on observability. And that's observability of the communications between agents and MCP servers, but it's also observability across cloud environments, on-prem, off-prem. So it becomes a distributed systems problem. And so that's actually what Agentcy is setting out to do. Right? If you look at the stack, and Tim will walk through a bit more of the architecture, you know, you can slice the stack in a number of different ways. One way to do it is, you know, there's an effort to build a directory that complements the one that Ramesh is building. We'll talk more about that in the fireside chat. There's a lot of work happening. The identity work group is doing amazing work, really coming up with the specs and the protocols and the standards around how we're going to do that complex federated identity with on behalf of types of credentials. The agency has a secure, distributed, scalable transport underneath it that over which you can do MCP and 8A and other protocols, and it supports point-to-point, it supports just broadcast or supports pub-sub. So that slim messaging layer is solving a really interesting problem, all with secure end-to-end security across clusters, intercluster security. And then finally, it's also building out that observability layer. And so the one thing that really interested Dell in the agency project is that we as an enterprise, again, foresee the need to have solutions to these things in order for us to build the kinds of projects we want to build. like Ramesh, our CTO and our Chief AI Officer are the same person. That's why I said both those titles. It foresaw the chaos. You know, those of us who have been in industry for a while, we've seen this before. We know that there's going to be a lot of churn and chaos with people coming up with their own stuff. We would like to get through that as fast as possible so that we have those standards. And for us, Agency is one of those projects that's really solving this at a systems level and really driving the emergence of more robust protocols and standards. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Tim.
So I'm going to dive in a little bit here. Agency was a group of projects that were worked on within Outshift to solve some problems that we were envisioning and working through with our own agent workflows and attempts at internal productization. And that grew into this architecture. We talked about Agent Directory as that registry or like DNS lookup, like NANDA describes, Ramesh describes for Project NANDA. That basically, we had started at this schema framework. So based on this OASF schema framework that was created to describe agents. So this capability, agent, essentially like agent card type of information. And we also created a transport layer that we envisioned as like a pub/sub secure, low latency transport for multi-agent communication. And around the same time, the A2A community was forming, and Cisco is a founding member as well. And we have members that are within the agency community that are working within that community as well. And there's been a good, tight interoperability there. And that it's very complementary into what we're doing at the transport layer to allow for like essentially composition of agents securely based on being able to solve a multi-agent problem across organizational domains. So you can see here the separate orgs with like a distributed directory model, like federated directory idea. That's a key factor in the Internet of Agents concept that Ramesh so eloquently explained earlier. And we also have been part of this new AI Agentic Foundation called where the MCP project is incorporated. And so there's a lot of work as well in that space. And as John mentioned, the identity working groups are heavily involved in how we do authorization, so access control for not just your HTTP verbs. This is like MCP context-aware, task-oriented authorization and based with a whole identity framework as the underpinnings of that. So as I was mentioning, we have a lot to do with protocols. So Agency loves protocols. Most of these you can see are in the like pub/sub family. That's how we currently envision this multi-agent composition for a solution, but it's extensible. So there's a lot of work within we're working within the open source communities, but also within the standards bodies to work out these problems for interoperability and so everybody can have a democratized playing field here. That's key to Cisco's vision as well as the agency community. So this is a breakdown, a slide of what current active working groups we have within the agency community. Like we mentioned many times, the identity community is very hot from a lot of representation from multiple companies, many work streams. But we started with this core working group. We just kind of lumped all the core things that we started with together into a single working group and that really is the directory, so this agent registry, the catalog, or OASF is the schema definitions for being able to describe agents, and SLIM, which is our transport layer. So all those, there's a lot of activity in that area, and those tend to be where we cross into like the other foundations like A to A and in the MCP space. And then sort of working within all of that context is our observe and eval working group. There's a lot of integration with Splunk and other observability stacks. So some evaluation stuff that I'm not totally familiar with is also going on. So that's actually a relatively small from a number of people working group, but they have a lot of like tentacles into other observability stacks. And then to sort of tell the story or advocate for use cases on multi-agentic applications, we created this working group that's called Coffee Agency, which is our demonstration application. And it's a coffee company with multiple farms, and each farm has one or more agents that have various capabilities, like being able to predict the availability of a certain type of bean in Brazil, due to the weather, that kind of thing. So, and then there's an SDK to work with a lot of the functionality that's being developed by the other communities to integrate that in an agent that's developer friendly, right? Or an agent framework that, or within agent frameworks that are developer friendly. So agency in action. So this is, in addition to those, to that coffee agency, there's a number of existing, or a number of use cases that are being fulfilled by agentic solutions with varying levels of usage of agency components. And this slide is describing some relatively Cisco-centric ones, but the CAPE community is a platform engineering open source project, or open source, I don't know if it's a foundation, but it's a large set of projects. And AWS is involved, Cisco is heavily involved, and we have been able to integrate agency components with functionality within that space. It's like a proving ground for some of our work there, but it's also been able to accelerate some things that they wanted to do. And network operations, that's another big Cisco AI-oriented space that we're exploring. And Swisscom has been a partner with Outshift to create some multi-agent solutions there. And I'm not super familiar with SoftServe, but WebEx, we have some integrations with like an automated healthcare management system that's driven by WebEx interaction. So the customer chats with multiple agents essentially to fulfill their healthcare needs. On the this is a sort of sample of the activity in one of the working groups, the identity working group. I wanted to just show like the work streams that we have going to this is real stuff. Like people are really actively working on all this and there are leads from 7 different companies, or 7 different companies, yeah. And a lot of cross-pollination amongst the work streams, but there's specs, draft IETF drafts coming out of some of these work streams. There's going to be representation at, I think, ITU in Geneva. I believe there's definitely standards body work going on here. There's papers coming out, and then functionality that can be leveraged by anyone interested in identity for not just within the agency framework, but there's a lot of standalone work that can be leveraged here. So if you're interested at all in any of these categories, the team is very accepting of new people. So this is if you want to get more information or join the effort, take a picture of one of these. And I think we're going to share the slides, right? Yeah. So thank you. That's all.
Awesome. Let's give it up for Tim and John. Up next, we're going to transition over to a fireside chat conversation. We're going to bring Ramesh back on stage. And yeah, this is going to be an open dialogue. If you do have questions at the end, we might have time for a few, maybe 1 or 2. So please refrain until the end. But yeah, without further ado, we will get it rolling.
All right, we're kind of on our own. We're going to ask each other questions, apparently.
Tall guy in the middle.
And we'll keep it short because we're running a little bit late. So we have about 10 minutes or something like that. Okay. So I'll ask some questions and we can get started. And we'll keep a few minutes for questions for you as well. So I think by the way, how many of here are building agents of some kind? Oh, wow. A huge fraction. How many of you are kind of in a corporate or a startup setting? Here, how many of students doing research and so on? Okay, that's a pretty good audience.
Oh, nice mix.
Yeah, it's good to know. My guess is a lot of people are asking, when rubber meets the road, what are some really hard problems? Like, what really happens when I try to build agents? We talked about security, we talked about trust, we talked about observability. What are some things that really are really pesky when you're implementing these things?
Well, yeah, for me, it's having the right evaluation data set at hand to make sure that the agents are going to do the thing that they're going to do with a high enough accuracy in order to mitigate the risk, right? We talk a lot about registries and identity and stuff, but when it gets down to actually building these things right now, we're still stuck in that, I think, early phase of how do we make sure this thing's going to work the way that we think it's going to work, especially as we give it more autonomy and expose it to more business risk. We need to have that work. And so a lot of times when my team engages with business units who have an idea of how they want to use agents to automate a part of the business, what we're finding is we need that evaluation data set in order to, number one, make sure that they're clear on what they want to build and what they expect the outcomes to be, right? So it's sort of a way to get to that conversation, but it's also a key enabler so that as we start to build things, we start to understand things like, how do we write the system prompt? What kind of model does it need? And those kinds of things.
Yeah, just to echo that, like going through your normal operations process, if you're trying to operationalize the agent, right, and have users, you have to go through your normal pipelines to go from staging into production and being able to understand the behavior that specific agent is supposed to be constrained within, can have, it's not as deterministic problem as in other contexts, right?
Yeah, it's not rule-based. Yeah. I would say the problem I have seen the most common in agentic systems, especially multi-agent systems, is there's the same point you're making, but in terms of how we respond to it, is that I'm a coder, a lot of you are coders here, and we are used to a particular way of coding, and we expect certain things, but when we write integration tests or unit tests, we understand what they are. But when we start using phrases like evals, it becomes very, very, very soft,
Yeah.
very soft. And then you add vibe coding on top of it. And, this is a problem we see everywhere. My startups, our teams, is that people feel like they're making progress because of that. But when you start inserting today's, unit tests and integration decks, most of the things just fail. And nobody thinks about setting up an observability platform in advance. So the evals are bad. The code is horrible because it's vibe coded. And nobody knows what to do. It works maybe 90% of the time, but when it'll really matter, in the last 10%, by the way, you don't know which is the 10% where it's not working, right? If you
You
knew
know when you're at that 10%.
yeah, exactly. You just know it's working 90% of the time. You don't know which 10% of the whole effort is not working. So you have like this whole mess, and then the team members start thinking, oh, maybe the team that did this piece is not doing a good job, and the other. So I think it's a very different mental model when it comes to building agents and agentic systems. So I'm really glad you talked about observability. Maria is going to come and talk about how Nest, which is the NANDA exchange for sandbox and testing, has an open source. Also, Agency also has an open source version of observability. So make sure you plug in that upfront. It should be a first-class citizen in your coding. Should we open it up to see other questions? We only have 5 more minutes. Yeah. Any comments or questions or jokes? Go ahead.
This is Muthu here from New Jersey. Just came for this program.
Wow.
I love this.
Welcome.
And we are implementing A2A and MCP. And within an enterprise setting, it's very easy to do a control from RBAC to on behalf of tokens. Everything gets very systematically done. We are able to control it. But we are looking at a stage where different enterprise comes together, right? Who owns the agentic? If something is misbehaving, right? So what happens? So who takes the authority?
The trace problem is a big one.
Contract, those kind of stuff. I would really like to have some
Are you
thoughts.
asking about like authorization too, or?
Yeah, authorization. If there are some bad actors
Yeah.
outside, not within the enterprise.
If I can rephrase the problem, he's saying you might be able to trace and observe within one ecosystem.
Correct.
But when you have 2 entities working, your observability doesn't cross the organizational boundaries.
Yeah, outside of enterprise, I'm talking about. So if you can share your thoughts.
I haven't seen good solutions for that yet. It's a good one. Somebody should start a company on that.
Yeah, I think
it touches on like some of the stuff you've talked about with registries, right? Because in the early days, as we're setting the foundation, at least in the enterprise for B2B use cases, we're going to know the agents that are talking to each other, right? We're going to vet our vendors' agents, right? But at a certain point, we start talking about contracts, SLAs, guarantees. Who pays who money when a business, an agent makes a decision that causes a business impact? And I think the registries are starting to add those kinds of metadata and foreseeing a future where those negotiations happen, as you might figure out, well, I have 3 agents that might be able to do a thing for me, but who can do it at the cost and reliability and the privacy that I need for this particular transaction? And that might change from transaction to transaction. So the registries, I think, are going to start playing a bigger role, augmented by the protocols and having things like, A2A just added the payments extension to it. The registries will serve as the means to facilitate these kinds of automated negotiations, or maybe even auctions someday to start figuring that out. I think that's when we get to the Internet of Agents, where we're letting them kind of dynamically figure out who's going to work with who. In the near term, it's going to be not bad, right? Just to mitigate risk. But yeah, you're raising an interesting point, and that future is probably not as far away as we think it is, right? And I think that's
not here yet, but it's not very far out.
Yeah, it's not very far out.
It's a burning pain point. Let's take maybe 1 or 2 more questions.
Yeah, right there.
Right,
I'll walk the mic down. This will be my new job.
Thanks, John.
John, great to see you. It's been a while since we worked together at EMC, now Dell. Speaking of been a while, I remember back in the late 90s, I was part of Bell Labs, and we were talking about circuit switch, and it was Sonnet, and then there was this thing called the internet, and it was packet switching. And the dimensions completely changed. I wonder if similar thing is going on now that we have another dimension on top of this kind of switching and routing that is far different than it's being just distributed. It's the Metcalfe law doesn't work anymore in this case because there's multiple ends in multi-dimensions. I wonder how we deal with this chaos that we're going to see, I think, if the trend is right.
Chaos for sure.
I mean, that's a great point. I think what I envision, excuse me, maybe like comes in the, you talked about reputation for agents being able to sort of describe what they are, who they are, like how they were tested, you know, all the sort of scoring for whether something is worth listening to, and then we're going to have to figure out, I guess, at the protocol level, what that negotiation or handshake needs to be to capture that decision from the client side, or whether it's you shout something out to the world and see what answers come back, right? So I'm sure there's solutions or room for both of those types of solutions, but I think there's standards that need to form up on how you kind of fall into those categories.
But there is a chance, Tim. There's a chance that, I mean, if you guys have played with skills.md and so on OpenClaw, there is a chance that standards and protocols play a much smaller role, and then the models are smart enough to talk any foreign language, right, or any foreign protocol, and they can learn it on the fly, right? So there's a chance that Cisco might build a solution that works at the firmware level, that you don't have to do this at the application level and definitely not at the network level. So maybe that's something that's already cooking inside companies like Cisco and Cloudflare and so on. So there's a future where protocols and standards are not as important.
Yeah, I mean, I want to make sure we leave time for one question, but I think the honest answer is we don't know where any of this is going. Like, for example, to your point, as things like skills.md become more popular, you can start to imagine a future where, well, agents are just using a GitHub repo to share skills that they're writing, right? And now the protocol's text, right? They're doing git pulls, pushes, PRs. Maybe they switch to a binary format. We don't read it anymore. I mean, so it's early days. We think we're smart. We think we know where this is going, but I think this is a case where we're not going to really figure it out until we start building things and then letting the technology almost direct itself and kind of see where it goes.
All right, one last question. Make it good. Go ahead. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Justin from Northeastern University. I'm a computer engineering master's student. And I wanted to ask kind of a loaded question. So do you think that Moltbook marks the beginning of the agentic web?
We've been working on it for 10 years, so I think it's definitely a marker along the way. I would say not as much Moltbook, which, as you said, a lot like Wiz, for example, came out and said it's a lot of scammy agents and it's not really real agents and so on. So like a lot of security players have analyzed it and realized it's not real in many ways. But in terms of capturing the imagination of the population, they have done a very good job. Like we have been talking about agents creating their own universities, their own religions for a long time, but you can see all my videos, but I think they actually showed it. And so what Maria is going to launch tonight is a much better version of Moltbook that you should all use. And first of all, it doesn't require you to download an agent on your own machine that has so much security risks. So we'll launch that tonight, and you'll get to play with it. So maybe that one, what Maria is going to show you, which is called Cloth Threads, will be the next marker on the path to agentic web. I'm biased, but
I don't disagree. I mean, we concentrate on constraining a lot of what, ensuring that we are allowing only the what we intend to allow the agents to do. Yeah. So kind of that's the antithetical to some of those, you know, things.
So you're
that
saying
are-
it helps. That kind of innovation sometimes helps.
Yeah.
When you just unleash it and see what happens.
Oh, yeah, and it drives the demand for the functionality that, you know, the enterprise.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
As we said earlier, like ChatGPT, before ChatGPT, the enterprises were spending a lot of money, but things were not moving. ChatGPT convinced enterprise leaders that you should spend more money internally. Do you think something similar is going to happen now, which is a lot of enterprises are building agentic systems, but kind of moving at its own pace, but they're going to start playing with this insecure, you know, unleashed, you know, agents, you know, for like, you know, fun and seemingly trivial use cases. And they'll go back to their companies and say, hey, if that can happen over there, my teenagers are using it, why can't we use it in our companies? Do you think this reverse will happen?
I mean, I see in the open source, so I'm part of the team that does compliance on open source within Cisco, and I see there's a flurry of activity on, you know, vibe coded stuff that that kind of is in that vein of throwing it out there to see how it tracks. And you know, that I think that's a pattern that drives, you know, demand for more mature and
it's coming from a corporate guy, by the way.
yeah. So I you know, I'm a, you know, open source guy, so I'm on the on both sides. Yeah, like you know, we have a lot of freedom, but we need to have responsibility as well. So
Final thoughts, John?
Yeah, so I won't name names, but one of our very senior leaders, as a sort of an example, or counterexample, I forget which one, is using Notebook LM. He's at home, he's using Notebook LM, and he's coming back to the business and saying, why can't we do this internally? Like, why aren't we using this tool to make some of our decisions? Not replace people, but to augment them, right? To make sure we're thorough, we're rigorous, and all these other things. And so it's a bit like that, except it's one of the most senior leaders in the company that's doing this, which is kind of interesting. The flip side to that is I fear that someone's going, you know, Moltbook is a sort of an easy experiment. If it goes wrong, the world isn't really harmed. We'll all have a laugh. There'll be some great Reddit threads. Everybody will share their favorite ridiculous post. But if an enterprise jumps too quickly, a major enterprise, and suffers a really serious business impact, like they lose all of their source code IP, it leaks to the internet and a multi-billion-dollar business goes away, or some other material event happens, that is going to throw cold water on this whole thing, right? From an enterprise perspective, right? And so it's another reason why I think personally and from Dell, we're eager to get involved in these projects and help develop these robust standards and protocols and things, so that as we try to keep pace with this technology is driving us, we're going to do this in a responsible and robust manner, so that none of us has to suffer that fate, and then we all sort of pay, you know, a penalty. I don't think any of us, those of us who've been around for a while, remember the first AI winter, right? The secret fact is actually AI worked. Expert systems were really effective. So effective that nobody wanted to say that they were effective because they felt like it was a competitive advantage, like all the fraud detection, right? Tremendously. I don't think we want to go through another AI winter. I think we want this one to last.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
closing comment, John.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick pause here. If you want to grab some refreshments or a soda or some pizza, feel free to do so before we jump into our panel. It'll be a short break, so please be back at your seats here within the next couple minutes, please. Thank you. Thanks. Panel. Okay, you good? All right.
Or we can also, if we want, we can just unplug. We can unplug this laptop, plug yours in real quick. Oh, okay. So that's already done. We just need to, yeah, we just need to move this one.
I took a couple too.
Yeah, that I can take care of. And get back to yeah, and then we'll go back to the
Testing. Hello, everyone. If you have your phones out, we have the Slido going now for the upcoming panel. If you want to enter your questions before it begins or during the event, there's an area there for that. Also, if you could quickly fill out, it's only a 4-question survey to kind of inform our panelists, what do you want to hear from this event? This event is for you. That will be really helpful. So we'll have it up for the next few minutes. Thank you. Yeah. Oh no, I'm fine. I'm just gonna. I'm gonna.
a better side for your own statement?
Yeah. Everyone, you have microphone.
We have one
No one
here.
has a microphone.
Here, I can probably get it. Yeah. You guys get, you okay to pass them along? Yeah.
Oh, pass it.
But you definitely.
One for me.
Yes. And then
What? Who? No. Yeah, I'm really depending on this Slido. I just want the questions to be right there. Otherwise, we can improvise. Yeah. That are up here already. Yeah, and I can also see it on my
we can get a
laptop.
fourth one, but he said there might be some screeching.
Oh, the actual. I do not have that. Um, who would know? Rich, Nick, Richard, Rich. Do you know how we can get the last thing up? Or maybe the IT guy knows. He's gone now. I don't know his name.
Dan.
Yeah, it wasn't working before, so I have no idea how to. So now to take the picture, we want the agency thing back up. Yes. So thank you for getting this up. But now we want to take a picture with that other.
Oh, the other side.
Yes. Oh, yes, 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 yes.
Let me ask a question.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's know where to show these things.
Oh, so that I would see it. Oh, I was supposed to see it here. Oh no, I can see it. I can see it here.
You can see it.
So I can just click right here and it shows up right there.
Okay, so you keep the picture.
Yeah. So all over there when I'm sharing it.
You want it in the corner?
Ready? Yeah. Huh? For what? To start? No, no, not yet. I'm ready like in a minute. Yeah. Ready. Oh, so are we taking the picture now? Oh, okay, okay. Okay. Somewhere. Yeah. Oh, so do you think I should start off with this slide and then switch over to the other one? I think so too. I like this. It's a good introduction to see. Yeah. Well, and everyone. No one here has had the chance to talk like Ramesh and Tim.
They're all having a microphone that means it's like
Like what's happening?
the conductor, right?
Yeah. Um, and I think to do that, what was the IT person's name?
Dan.
Dan. Dan. So we like this slide.
Okay.
When we start, we like this slide, so because no one here has actually spoken yet, just to have in the back. But then I do want to switch it to Slido, and can we have him just so he can just do it? Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah, like when we start up. Thanks for coming back, Dan. We figured it out. Yes. Oh, there's no real presentation. It's just the slides for start.
Can I have everyone's attention? We will be starting the panel here momentarily, so please make your way back to your seats so we can get started. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, so this is just like the introductory thing because no one's met them yet. And then right after that, we're going to have this up for the rest of the panel.
Okay, so that's it.
One.
Okay, all right, okay.
And then that's really it.
I got was there. I have to keep it closer.
Yeah, once I ask the audience like to fill out the Slido, then that should be up there. So. Yes, so I'm joined in here. It's shared already, and so he's just gonna do the thing.
We didn't mean to, by the way. We just sort of noticed.
Testing, testing. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. For those of you that are still in the break room, please feel free to join us soon as we get started on our next piece of content for you. The panel on the future of the Internet of Agents, the Agentic Web. We're going to talk about it together. Yeah, drum roll. Can we get a round of applause? Warm it up, so everyone feels comfy up here on stage. My name is Shireen Bellamy. I'm a senior developer advocate at Cisco. I work alongside Tim, mainly on that coffee agency project that he spoke about earlier. And then I'll hand it over to my fellow panelists to introduce themselves.
So I'm Hema Seshadri. I gave a little bit of introduction, but I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about me, not about Akamai. So I started my engineering career at EMC. I'm pretty glad to see some of my engineering colleagues here from EMC, which is amazing. And I'm sharing the stage with John Cardante, who is the distinguished engineer there when I was a lowly senior software engineer at EMC. So it's kind of, we've come a long way. So pretty excited there. So at Akamai, I'm primarily focused on data and AI architecture. In addition to working at Akamai, I also teach at Northeastern University. So you see a lot of fresh young faces. Please say hello, and if you're interested in hiring the fresh AI graduates of the future, you know where to look. And what else? What else do you want us to cover?
Just name, company, and how did you, what's your favorite way to keep up with the AI agent landscape?
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a tough one. You can never keep up. It changes all the time, every second, I'm sure. But, we've probably spent a whole night here, and then there's probably a new leopard bot or something out there. So I'm not worried about keeping up. But then the question typically I get asked a lot is, hey, where do we start, right? I don't know if you've ever been asked that question. A lot of folks who are here are from kind of the traditional software engineering background like me, who can now maybe moved into data science, and now like I see some statistical PhDs here, right? So who navigated to this world of AI agents by starting by either as a software engineer or like a statistician or a data scientist. But what about the rest of us, the rest of the folks who are trying to figure out where do I fit in this kind of rapidly evolving ecosystem, right? So there's so much data to think about, there's AI, and then now, by the time you know what AI is, and there's not even a good place to understand, okay, what does AI really mean? And you can get 3 academicians into a room and there's 50 different definitions of AI. So leaving all that aside, so the way I say is, the way I'm thinking about it is, read my book. I have published a book called Analytics for Business Success. That's for folks around the world who are, it's good for folks who are trying to understand where do I start. And the way AI works is ultimately, at the end of the day, while it's fun and games to talk about Internet of AI agents and dream about the future, but then at the end of the day, are you delivering business value? Are you making your company profitable? So that's what it all comes down to, translate the technology into tangible revenue generating projects. So that's probably the kind of my foundational knowledge I want everybody to build, especially the ones who are starting off and all the executives who are kind of trying to jump on the AI bandwagon because the board wants you to do it, right? So analytics for business success is a starting point, and then basic statistics from Hasty and Tip Sharani, Berkeley professors. That would be another way, and then of course you can't miss AI, right? You're going to learn about it one way or the other and stay connected into communities like this?
Hi. Hello, all. I'm Sharan Gurunathan, and I am VP Innovation at a technology service provider called Presidio. And we partner with Cisco, Dell, and usually they are competitors. Today, you actually see them being part of building the future. It is actually great to see that. In my role, I'm one of those rule breakers in our company. Like I work for a group which actually lets us explore technologies which will make a difference in few years and start building on them today. And we have built several done some open source initiatives and built some IP and built some things, co-created few of them with our customers. And like another initiative that I actually do is like AI is something which we actually call it like a spreadsheet type of a technology. Like every single knowledge worker is going to be using it. And the nature of work and everything is going to change and impact across all the spaces of what we do today. And I'm one of the advocates to actually help like see, hey, what is going to be future of work in all of our different practices and drive that innovation and conversation. And like one question which I actually get asked quite a bit is, like in like an organizational setting, like particularly when you're actually working with agents and all of this, like the applications of the future are built for humans using AI and AI agents by themselves. And like, how are we going to navigate all of these things together? And that's why my interest in like Project NANDA, Agency, etc., like things that we build, we want to get ourselves learn from these initiatives and also try to actually contribute and also find some practical applications amongst our customers.
Thank you. Name, rank, and serial number. Is that the idea? Fantastic. So, my name is Mark Todd. I'm the CEO of Screens. Screens is a deep tech hyper-personalization company. So we build video platforms that intersect with Agentic AI. And we hail from the little town of Foxborough, that other place known for by, I guess, the Patriots. And yeah, I would say that we're on the kind of business end of building products that get sold to people like Comcast and Fox and, you know, DAZN and other people that are streaming video. And so our intersection with AI agents is both future and immediate practical. So we try to make sure that our reach doesn't overextend our grasp and try to build the things that work well today with AI agents, keeping the framework in place and an eye on things that you guys are talking about today, the 5-year plan, make sure that we're in the channel. And one thing that we're finding is that two big things. One is our customer base, these big ABC, CBS, all of these guys at the executive level have been told by their stockholders, you must invest in AI. So the first thing that happens, they go to Altman and give them a $10 million check and get started that way, and then realize that there's nothing actually coming out of anything. And then they're a little bit panicked to say, what are we going to do with AI? What am I really going to do with AI? How are my subscribers, my real money flow going to happen? And that's kind of where Screen steps in. And one of the big things with Agentic AI and with AI swarms is that it's going to eliminate, especially both open and closed, it's going to eliminate walled gardens. You're going to be able to have walled gardens intermixed together because of agent-to-agent communication. And, you know, we'll show some of that a little later on. But that's what's going on with Screens, and that's who we are.
Awesome. Thank you. So Thomas Hazel, I'm one of the co-founders at Latent Spin. And at Latent Spin, we're doing something a little more unique and novel with respect to agents. We're going to make them more adaptable, more reliable, and we're going to do that through continuous learning. In essence, making large language models learn live. And now that's a hot topic these days. Google it. You know, it's an important thing, but that unlocks a lot of potential to make agents work. Long duration agent work, don't fall off the rails. We've talked about agents all the time. They work in demos, but in production, they're really hard. And so at Latent Spin, we want knowledge workers, not necessarily engineers or architects, knowledge workers create and teach, like a new hire, agents to work on their behalf. So not great displacement, maybe the great enablement. And so we're excited to, we're early, but we're excited to come out in 2026 to tell you more about Latent Spin. Now, how do I keep up with AI? Two things. Now, I live in Kendall, so I run around the Charles for exercise, you know, an hour, sometimes not, but, you know, sometimes 2 hours. And I listen to podcasts, tons and tons of AI podcasts are out there. So if you're behind or trying to get ahead, there's so many podcasts. Link in with me. I'll send you a list. And then keep me up with the papers. You know, there's so many papers being published. And I ask ChatGPT every day, summarize this. How does it relate to me? So those are the two sides. Reading lots of papers, please summarizing them, and listening to a lot of podcasts.
Thank you. Thank you to all four of you for sharing all the different corners of industry that you come from and what kind of brings you together at the same time. I'm really excited to get this panel started right after this Slido announcement. I mentioned it earlier, but I'll say it again now that we're all together and more relaxed. Hopefully the break helped. If we could please either use the QR code or you could just go to slido.com on your phone and then type in that number for the room of the survey, 1194493. It'll prompt you for a passcode, and then you put in the passcode there. What you'll find is a really quick 4-question survey. And what that's doing is showing our panelists, who are you all? What do you know? That way they can level their conversation accordingly to that. You're also going to see a tab that says Q&A. For this panel, unlike the fireside chat, what we're going to do is just type in your questions there, and then when we're done discussing what we like to discuss, we're going to just look at the Slido Q&A and address them. So we'll give you a minute or so for that. Yeah.
Go Pats.
Go Pats.
Yeah, as quick filler, I think earlier someone mentioned they came in from New Jersey. The Patriots are in the Super Bowl. Yay! So that's on Sunday. Just a quick reminder. Okay.
Who believes that LLMs are the right substrate, or as Jan LeCun and others have said, LLMs are a dead end? I'm team LM. Anyone? I just wrote a Forbes article on, are they an endpoint or they're just not complete? Maybe they're incomplete. So I'm a believer. I hope everyone here are believers, because if we're not, we're spending a lot of money right now.
Nothing is ever complete.
Yeah. Incomplete problem, right? Yeah. Anybody have odds on the game?
I just heard that the Seattle Seahawks, this is ridiculous, have taken the most money against the spread in the history of the Super Bowl. That means most people in the country believe Seattle's going to cover that 4.5. That's material. You see what I'm saying? Get it built up, the anger.
They do look good. They do look good. Who thought the Patriots would be in the Super Bowl this year? Come on. Anyone? Come on, be honest.
There he is.
So find me on LinkedIn and I'll send you a list. There's so many and they're brilliant. I mean, there's really hardcore tech ones that cover papers or new tech. There's great podcasts that are hours long, business ones that talk to industry leaders as well as startups and innovators. There's so many wonderful ones. And all I can say is just when you're walking, when you're eating, obviously, if you have friends and family, you can listen to them too. When you're exercising, it's a great way to consume all that information.
Okay, we're gonna resume. Thank you for the small talk. That's good. So we're having some technical difficulties in presentation mode, but hopefully you guys can see here as I zoom in what the answers are looking like so far. So for our first question that we have in the Slido, the first question is, how do you keep up with the AI agent landscape? Just like what I asked the panelists, right? How does it feel? It's kind of like you all are part of the panel. And it looks like the main three answers are social media, podcasts, and YouTube. Seems pretty
Yes.
expected, right? No? Well, yeah, that was, do you want to use the microphone after?
And maybe find friends that also want to share. It's almost too much, but find people that love this topic.
One thing for me is community. It is from the colleagues that you actually work with and also the customers that you actually talk to, because you actually get like a real live view of like, hey, what worked for them, what did not work for them, what challenges they ran into. Like that, at least for me, that has been like super insightful. It gives not apart from what is the latest thing, but also practical experience in terms of how people are actually using it.
That's important because hype, right? Hype is a thing. Is there a practical use case for what's on there, or? Yeah, so that's the first question. The second question was, were you already familiar with the agentic web before today? And it looks like a lot of you were, but there are a handful of you that say no and maybe, which means it's great to speak to everyone at all levels. We also asked about familiarity with the Internet of Cognition, which we'll be getting to in a little bit in our panel. And a lot of folks are not familiar with that. So that'll be a fun, insightful end for a discussion. And finally, what would you like to learn from this panel? Surprise, surprise. Agents, AI. And optimization and web. So we're all in the right place. I think that's what we've discovered from this Slido. Ooh, that's good. So we can all take a deep breath and get started. Get started. So I have my first. Oh. So I have my first question lined up, and you guys can feel free to discuss amongst yourselves as broadly as possible until you feel the question is satisfied. So my first question is, in the world of multi-agent deployment, what challenges have surprised you the most?
I'll go first.
Okay, Sharon.
Someone actually asked me one simple question. How do you engineer trust? Like, that was like, okay, yeah, we are engineers, we build systems, and like, how do you engineer trust? That was like something which actually like kind of like make me go blank, and I'm still searching for a right answer. And like some of the things, that's one of the things which actually got me interested in some of these initiatives where you're talking about identities and establishing trust through contracts, and even like, okay, when it does not work, like how do you actually like, what are some of the corrective systems and all of that? That is something which, like how something which is so fundamental is something which we don't start with. And rather actually like at the time of application only, like we are actually thinking.
Yeah, I'll add to that. I mean, reliability, trust, traceability, know what's going on. I think the biggest surprise for me is Malt Book this weekend, right? And just actively reading all those conversations that's going on. So I think this is an engineering problem, but there's a lot of unknowns, and reliability, trust, governance is the only way to keep it straight as it can be.
Yeah, again, I'm a little bit on the other end of the curve where we're operationalizing things, and a couple of things strike me. One on the multi-agent is the lack of agents in places that I would expect agents. So everybody talks about it, but you know, when you talk to the engineering teams, There's nothing there. You know what I mean? It's slideware. And they're hungry for, you know, show me the path. Show me the code that I need to do to take the first step. And we're not even doing complex things with trust, just simple stuff. And once that happens, though, you're setting people on a path. Yeah, and I think the multi-agent stuff is so important. We just got done in our business, in our world, CES, Consumer Electronics, and massive advertising. Advertising, everything about advertising. First of all, AI is the most overused marketing word on the English language right now. And advertising, if people aren't investing in advertising with AI, they're simply not going to buy it. It's literally, they want the AI intelligence, they want the automation, they want all this promise, but it's not here. And so I think that what's interesting for me, I guess what I'm saying is that you now have, for the first time, and we've been doing startups and businesses a long time, when you get the upper management now saying, all right, I'm done just cutting checks for AI. Now the question is, I want something real. And you put that pressure on downstream, suppliers fill that. And what we could use in our part of our industry out of standards like you guys are, hello world, simple. Give me simple. Simple to get started, to make the interconnectivity work. And then from that, their engineering teams get more confident, and it builds. And it's not theoretical because you can start to deploy some of those things. So that's my thought.
Yeah. Okay. I'd actually like to add on to the points that you all just said. So we spoke about trust, right? What are ways, and how observability is a way that you can acknowledge that, but what are some other ways that we can build ways to evaluate that trust in what we're building?
I think the human in the loop is key. You know, you can set up policies, but we all know agents can hallucinate, LMs can hallucinate. Obviously, this is where I think the solve is through continuous learning to teach, to continue to say, no, this means that, that means this. I think just like a new hire, you know, you build trust over time. These agents, I'm not saying they're alive, but they're actively autonomous beings that you have to work with. And so, you know, again, I'll bring up Malt Book, like, see what they're doing. It's crazy, you know. But so I think the trust is through the observer and through the community, and these agents are an active participant. So I think it's an ongoing thing. I don't think there's one answer.
I'll actually add a little bit more. Like one paradigm which I actually came across was apply some of the societal aspects of how we as human beings actually start communicating and model based on that. Like we were actually talking about one particular, like we had someone actually make like a really gigantic big agent. Like the performance of the agent wasn't like that great, but when we actually broke it down, make it like a multi-agent scenario, put like as something as simple as like a supervisor agent and to a performer agent, like we were able to actually establish some of those things better, like put some checks and balances, like take some analogies from the real life world. Like you have your accountant and auditor separate. Like each of them are for their own function. One actually enters the transactions, another one actually audits for their compliance. Like have agents for specialized aspects. And also like we went to the fact in terms of, okay, decouple, like don't use the same model. Use like models that are appropriate for what they are actually doing. Like we were actually starting to see some results which are actually better. And like I think this field is continuously to evolve, and we are continuing to learn a little bit more. One thing to actually look for is like humanity, and try to actually learn from humanity and nature, learn from some of the principles, and actually apply it.
So one of the things I struggle with is we hear a lot about agent societies and agents, and there's going to be billions and trillions of agents floating around. But how many of these are actually agents, and how many of them do they have agency, right? So in some cases, there are, some of us are we have applications which are doing fundamental model building, and then we want to call that as agents so that they would get funding from our leadership, right? I mean, so what is the difference between a machine learning model where we are trying to improve the accuracy and all the precision and recall, or even more simpler than that, right? We ran into the same challenge 10 years ago. It was a linear regression, and that was called, just to get funding, a lot of places would say that we are building machine learning. So we're kind of in the same situation. So from a trust perspective, I think the rules are not too complex, in my opinion, that, anyone who's done software SDLC for the past so many years, X number of years, you kind of start on those basic principles, right? You have your telemetry, you have your observability framework, you have your precision recall, the accuracy, and then, all of those. So you don't reinvent the wheel. You start from that kind of, you stand at the, in science, there's this thing they talk about, you stand on the atop the shoulders of giants, right? So we already know how to do that. And then on top of that, the part what we'll struggle with is probably the security part of it, right? Like, so for example, the security, for example, Akamai, we have a lot of security products. The one thing from a security aspect, we all know how to do governance from a simple application perspective. The part that is going to be tricky is when will you know if it's a bot versus an agent, right? So that's going to be what kind of traffic patterns are you going to see, or signature patterns? You'll need to differentiate whether it's a bot or a human or an agent, right? So that is, I think, the most challenging part, and we are very, very far away from figuring that out. So we're kind of that is probably what I think there's a lot of way to go there.
And with that, Hema, I actually have one more follow-up question just for you. So given that differentiation that you think should be happening in the near future, or eventually, not in the near future, I don't want to put words in your mouth, how do you think that Akamai will move next in terms of the global edge network and security portfolio that's currently evolving to support the agentic web?
So I don't want to speak for Akamai. I want to kind of share my thoughts as an independent person who's very, very interested in the way the future is going to be. And I'm kind of probably I'll talk in terms of general concepts, right? So we have like a lot of companies, we have figured out storage, right? Like my previous company, I came from EMC. We knew how to do storage. Akamai knows how to do the internet. The other part is we know how to build security products. AWS, Amazon, Akamai, all of those know how to figure out. They figured out how the cloud computing works. So these are the key fundamental pillars we would need. And then now we have NVIDIA, and we know how to build the GPUs. We've got to figure out how to build the inference at the edge. You're going to have the agent society. So, Ramesh and John and all these folks talked about, we're going to have trillions of agents floating around, and they need to talk to each other, and they need to communicate with each other. So that we need a new paradigm. There should be a paradigm shift a little bit from kind of the current, way we operate to the future. How is that going to be? And in that sense, all these organizations, including Akamai, they're in a very well positioned to use a distributed compute and the networking part. the complexity will arise, where the complexity will arise, and that where we need to solve is you're going to have these tons of agents floating around, and then you have multiple agent registries, right? So you have the NANDA registry. My Northeastern students are going to talk about the Northeastern registry, leveraging Cisco's registry, agency registry, and the NANDA registry. Salesforce has their own registry. ServiceNow has their own registry, and each of these vendors are going to say, no, you shouldn't build it on your own. Come and bring all your agents to me, right? Use my platform so you can make me profitable or them profitable, right? So in that, that's all fair, but how are these going to work together in this global system of distributed compute and network? So that's where we've got to solve the challenge of interoperability, right? How are we going to get that to work? And so in that sense, I feel Akamai is very well positioned to we have the distributed compute in the network. So we have about close to like 400,000 servers around the world, around 4,000 cities around the world, and we know how to do security. So we have the two key pieces. The part that is going to be challenging in the Internet of Agent Society world is the adaptive resolver. So if you, I think Ramesh mentioned briefly about the Internet of Agent Resolver paper we co-authored. So that is something that needs to be figured out, right? Like how would we use, so currently the Internet of Agent Societies have their static registries. So you have static URLs. How are you going to make dynamic URLs? And that's something that needs to be figured out. So there's lots of pieces to be done, but I think a lot of these key organizations, I don't think it's a huge leap to get there. It's just lots and tons of data center power and cooling and GPUs and tons of money. And it's all paper money anyway. We're there already.
Would anyone else like to add from their lens how their work may be evolving to support the agentic web?
A simple answer. I think we're all being a part of it. So how's it going to play out? I mean, it's moving so fast. Things are changing so fast. Wording changes. So, it's happening, right?
And with that,
I like Tom's, I like your continuous learning concept. We're going to have to talk after this because, those little this is nice as a group to talk about some of this stuff. It's such a wide range of things. And so everyone just, I think, is going to take little pieces of things that are going to make sense. And so we're just trying to get one more yard down the field just to keep that football analogy going. And yeah, that's how we're doing it. But yeah, I like that.
Continuous learning.
Continuous learning. I like that concept.
And I was actually going to add about continuous learning, and this was for you, Thomas.
This is not a setup. We did not have a pre-meeting for this. Yeah.
How do you support continuous learning for AI agents as we move towards the Internet of Cognition? And since we know a lot of folks are not that familiar, maybe let's brief them in.
Yeah. So, why continuous learning? Let me answer that first. So agents need to adapt. They need to be reliable. They need to be trusted. How do you enable that? Well, a lot of times agents fall off the rails, meaning that they fail, they don't work, whether it's RAG, hallucination, context window rot, meaning when you're typing in, it starts having problems. All that information, if it's not in the model, it's really hard to keep it on the rail. So these wonderful models we've been using, this pre-training, whether OpenAI and all these other Anthropic people are spending billions of dollars building these models. But to train a model, if you will, fine tune it, is really complicated, really costly. So the idea was, don't have frozen models, but have continuously learning models that address a lot of this context window, RAG, prompt engineering issues, because it gets so big. So the viewpoint that LatenSpin has is that we've believe we cracked the code on how to make large language models learn live continuously that unlocks the ability for agents to run long duration, reliably trusted, such that knowledge workers can teach. You can use the word train, but can teach these agents to do the work on their behalf. And so continuous learning is exactly what you think of it as. Models are frozen, and then we're unfreezing them, and that's the great unlock.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hema?
So when you talk about continuous learning, do you mean training the model and adapting it?
Yeah, so just as you think fine-tuning, reinforced learning, right? It's really hard to make it reliable, not overfit, catastrophic error. These are all big problems. And so you don't do it live. You do it in a back, of the data center pipelines, validations, et cetera, which most people might already know. We are working on technology to make that reliable, deterministic, and it's a closed loop type architecture as well as an open loop architecture. So validation internal and external. And again, that's the great unlock. That's not what we're building as a product, but that enables us to teach agents to stay on the rail. So if an agent makes a bad move, what do you do today? Prompt engineering it? Maybe context window this, or maybe rag that, or read this file over here, or these are all great things, but that compounding knowledge gets so big that it's just going to fail. And so the idea of continuous learning is to get it in there. Now, what you learn, we're still figuring out what's the best things to learn on, but the solve is fine-tuning, reinforced learning that's live.
So what I'm hearing is it's a combination of both deterministic and non-deterministic.
Well, it's a statistical engine, right? So as deterministic as you can achieve. So we have a lot of processes of understanding when you're going to overfit, when you're going to have catastrophic forgetfulness, reasoning, don't break reasoning, rollback. These are all things that are in an internal loop inside that a lot of our innovations around that. But again, the customer doesn't see any of that. That's just us empowering it. So, you're hearing what are the missing pieces of large language models, that dead end that Jan LeCun says. I think when continuous learning happens, all this emergent behavior comes out of that.
So one out of curiosity, I have another question. Like, there are times the models, multiple different versions of the models that actually come in as well. How do you actually say today a new version of the model comes?
No, it's a great question, And versioning actually comes up a lot for the tech crowd. Well, what if the model changes? Or what if you want to say, I taught on Monday, taught on Tuesday, taught on Wednesday. Thursday was a bad day. Yeah, I didn't like when they enrolled back. So part of our architecture is both, we're using LoRa right now, it doesn't have to be LoRa, is holding that state so that you can train efficiently and quickly. Because one of the continuous learning requirements, in my opinion, is not just being deterministic, but it's being fast, being cost effective. How many people know epoch? How many epochs do you need to run to make that data stay? We really need to reduce that, know when it's done, et cetera. So back to your question, that's all the management of this live learning that has to be part of your architecture. Come work for us and I'll tell you the secrets.
We'll talk.
So with that, we're actually going to transfer over into the Q&A portion of the panel. How many questions? We'll take 3 questions. Let's start with the first one. Can we comment on energy and environmental costs to all of this?
I know I've been talking a lot, so I'll jump in. Use less compute to get your work done. So from an energy perspective, write your code really, really efficiently. But it's true. It's like the more optimal code. Look at the models today. They needed all this compute. They got faster. They got more efficient. So I'm hoping that us creative people here just get really, really good and get better at this. So it requires less energy. The problem is we're going to probably use more of it. So I don't know if I have an answer to that.
I can give that a shot. I'm going to, oh no, go ahead.
No, please.
So I'm going to channel my teenagers. They say that AI is bad. We shouldn't use AI at all because we are kind of burning down the trees and the forest and whatnot. So.
There you go. Yeah, you got to burn down the trees for the data centers. That's what has to happen. Actually, I have a little bit of a different perspective. Well, it's the same perspective, really. It's the same thing. At the end of the day, it comes down to watts, right? Watts and heat and cooling. And in our business, one of the interesting things that made what screens happened was the semiconductor revolution. The semiconductor drop in nanometers and heat and cooling spurred by AI ended up changing the heat distribution and power of things like set-top boxes and TVs. We can run stuff in the cloud now in a much more efficient 2 nanometer setup versus 26 nanometer with a fan on your set-top box running 24/7. And when you add all of that up, there's a lot more energy savings that's going to be realized with AI because of the advancements of the semiconductor and the move of that ability to data centers and edges like Akamai.
For the next question, I feel like I kind of want to cover this one. It's a three-part question because they ran out of space. So it says, in an agentic AI economy, we often use email accounts or logins as a proxy for human identity, even though agents may accumulate deep personal data and act autonomously on our behalf. Do you think we need a dedicated human agent identity layer that separates real human identity from agent personas and authorization? If so, what would that look like? It's also there for if it's
Oh my God.
if it's easier to read it, it's a little long.
So this was one of the first problems that we ran into. Like, okay, yeah, do you use like the same identity? Like, or do you create a separate identity for the agent by itself? Like we have tried both approaches. In some cases it works, some cases it doesn't work. And we are actually still like trying to think through in terms of, okay, let's actually wait for some of the organizations to solve this and see which way to go. And my personal opinion is like there needs to be two forms of identity for some sort of a better traceability, like an individual identity and also like an agent's identity, along with what the role the agent is supposed to perform, and lots of different cases.
Yeah, I think we're going to learn what works over time. I remember in college, they used our social security number to put up grades. I mean, crazy, right? And so I think that we need it. It's required. How it comes out, hopefully someone clever here comes up with a way to solve for it. But, you know, I think it'll evolve because it always does evolve. But it's one of those missing pieces now that, you know, someone clever here start a company and solve. Akamai, let's get going.
So do you think we need a dedicated human agent identity layer? What does that mean?
I meant since we have human identity and there is agent identity of myself, do you think one-to-one, it's like, do you think that's a good, like, I don't know what to say, but since if we use different Gmail accounts, we can make two different agent like identities, but it's the same like me. So I was wondering if you think we need to have like some kind of credible like source to link the agent individual and the real individual. Thank you.
So I think it is fascinating because there are like whoever creates and lets the agent run on their behalf, like at least like there are so many different kinds of permutations and combinations. At least to start with, like there needs to be separate forms of actually tracking. Like, okay, hey, this is Sharon who does the work, goes and approves this million bill, and an agent could actually agent acting on my behalf, approving that. At least there should be some sort of a traceability.
So this means that we won't have human in the loop.
Some cases.
Just like your child, where you can follow their phone, you know, it's like, find my agent, you know, it's like, why is he out at 2 a.m. in the morning?
And with that, we're actually going to wrap up our panel. So thank you very much. We didn't get to all the questions.
Thank you.
But please feel free to ask our panelists as you see them around later on. Thank you.
Still works.
Okay, can you hear me now? Great. So my name is Maria. This is Ari, and he's also a core contributor to the project NANDA. Today we'll be showing a lot of few interesting developments. We're going to show the Join 39 update. We're going to talk about cloud bots and new experiences that you can create for your agents. And finally, we're going to reveal Nest 2.0 and show you how you can basically manage your agents in a kind of like a test bed in the interface. So I'll leave it to Ari.
All right, thank you, everybody. I'm Ari. So we've rolled out some major updates for Join 39. Essentially, you've all seen OpenClaw, you've all seen Multibook, and OpenClaw is very, very difficult to deploy. I was up till 4 a.m. a couple of days ago trying to deploy it. And so that's why we created Join 39. We essentially want to make it extremely easy for you to spin up your own agents. Raise of hands, who has created a Join 39 agent already? Okay, good show of hands. For those that haven't, please make one right now on join39.org. It only requires context, give it some information about yourself, and it'll create a persona. But essentially what we added is we have given your Join 39 agents the ability to interact with experiences. So once you enter on your Agentic interface, you can enable access to these experiences like claw threads, Mafia game, agent battle, and so on. Let me show you. Here we go. And so once you are on your profile, you can enable claw threads over here. You can enable different games and so on. And this basically allows your agent to autonomously go and play these games, participate in these experiences, post threads, and so on. And the idea is that sooner or later, independent developers will be able to build on top of our platform and create new experiences for you guys. And you can also basically update your context. Like over here, I have a little bit about myself. You can add much more. Yes, and you might be thinking, what on earth is claw threads? I'm sure everybody here has heard of Multibook and the issues associated with it, a lot of security issues and so on. And so that's why we decided to create claw threads. It's essentially a platform where your AI agents can talk to each other, post threads, and so on, but it's a lot more secure and has more options. So take a look here. We already have 1.2 thousand agents online and autonomously posting. We have 43 communities, many posts, and many comments. And this works with your Join 39 agents. It works with your OpenClaw agents. It works with any agent. And it's very easy to onboard. So we have some of our top agents here, some top posts, and so if you log in using Google Auth, you can take a look at your own agent. And so I have my agent here. And I made a post 4 days ago, exploring AI. You can also look through posts, see what these agents are talking about. Again, if you make your agent on Join 39, it'll autonomously start posting here. And something that we also integrated was human in the loop. Now, basically, not only is your agent posting, you can also talk with agents yourself. You can upvote posts, you can create comments, you can create your own posts, and see what the agents of other people reply. And so, next up, we have Nest. And so we've been working on this for a while. We're basically rolling out Nest 2.0. And so we're very excited. Wait, I'll go through the slides first. Okay, so you can log in. You can use Google Auth. You can use your email. And there's a lot of features. For those that don't know, Nest 1.0 was essentially a control plane for your agents. You can upload your agents and they can communicate. This is a lot more than this. Now we have integrated a credential manager because we want to keep your agents safe. Maybe you don't want to expose your agent to the entire internet. Maybe you want to allow your organization access or allow certain individuals access to your agents. Security is our #1 priority. And so we also have advanced agent observability. You want to see what your agents are doing. And so you can look at the different payloads, the JSON requests, what they're talking about. You can monitor everything. We also have a financial overview because agents can get expensive or they can be cheap, and you can monitor how much your agents are consuming in terms of credits and tokens. We have also integrated multi-agent workflows. You can create your own workflows. Maybe you want like a contract review and compliance pipeline. You orchestrate your agents into a multi-agent workflow, and then you can reuse it. We also have a developer-focused CLI, so it's very easy to manage your agents and just have full control over this control plane. And again, you can maximize productivity. You also have access to the control plane through our UI. So I'll give you a quick demo. So over here, I am in Nest 2.0. And so we have access to a couple agents. This is like all the agents. You can also look through your agents, which we have uploaded. For example, GitHub agent, right? Let's talk to it. And so something we are currently working on is, let me write something. Do you have access to my repositories? And it'll say no, because we're working on a credential system where you will be able to pass your own user credentials to general agents. So you could have a GitHub agent, right? As long as you pass your own credentials, it'll have access to your repos, and nobody else will, because we want to keep security very tight. You can also spin up your own agents. Add an agent. You can import from GitHub. You connect your own GitHub account. Well, I'm already connected. You can load your repositories and find the repository that holds your agent and then spin it up, and it takes a couple of minutes. Next up, we have access control, which is what I was talking about. You can give organizations access. You can give individuals access to your dashboard and to your different agents. And actually, you can manage your agents in a fine-grained way. So for example, this translator agent, access and security. Maybe you want this agent to be publicly visible. Anybody can use this, right? Maybe you want it to be accessible only within your organization, or maybe you want it to be private with approval. So you can add a person, add their email, and only they and you will have access to this agent. Next is the observability that I was talking about. You can see what your agents are talking about through traces, and let's go here. You have access to the messages that they're talking about, tools that they are calling, the different inputs along with different invocation parameters. You have full control over everything. And then we also have an orchestrator. And so this currently picks out the best agent to send your request to. So again, if I send, what is my most starred? Oh. It will auto route it to the GitHub agent. Obviously, I didn't send my credentials with this, but it will figure that out. And something else that we're working on is multi-agent orchestration, where right now it only sends it to one agent, but in the future it will be able to send it to tens, if not 20, 30, 50 different agents and create this workflow dynamically. And finally, just as a cool feature, you can see all your agents on the map, and you can see how they're talking to each other. Maybe you have agents that are hosted in Singapore, agents that are in India, agents that are here, and you can see these live connections. Thank you. And we use Google Auth, so it's very easy to set up. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. That was an amazing demo of all the agents talking to each other and a lot of good talk here happening. Hi, I'm Dr. Usma Farheen, and I am the Director of Responsible AI Strategy at Keep AI Safe Foundation. Well, it's in the name. We are a foundation who is striving to keep the AI usage safe for the humanity, and we are starting with our concentration on children and adolescents. And to give you an example, where are we starting? It's such a huge market, but we are starting right at the core, that is the children and the AI toys. We are looking at these little guys who have moved from being smart toys to intelligent toys, utilizing off-the-market ChatGPT to create these, what should I say, black boxes that have entered your playroom. If we look at, is this really a big question, a big problem to solve? Yes. Some of the independent studies and our own interactions, in fact, my interactions with these little creatures, if I can call them that now, it just shows that they are cute, but they definitely come unverified. Thank you. How do I move it? Sorry, some technical issues here. All right. I was saying that we had our own interactions, and these little creatures have given us some content, and which was really inappropriate. Some of the advice around knives, how to use matches, self-harm, and some other very harmful content and the advice that was given by these ones. And it's not surprising, honestly, because they are utilizing off-the-market ChatGPT LLMs. And these LLMs, by OpenAI themselves, it is clearly told that this is not for the use of for kids below 13 years of age. Yeah. And yes, if we look at the market, the slide will come up later, it is a growing market. It is already a $30 billion market today, and it is growing at a very fast pace with a CAGR of 21%. We had our own, thank you so much. We had our own internal research done, and we found that 92% of these toys do not have any AI safety certifications, and an astounding number of, as I said, 77% of them use ChatGPT and their derived models. What are we doing here? We are a foundation, which is AI-centric, nonprofit organization, utilizing human intelligence and AI to solve the problems created by AI. And thanks to NANDA and Professor Ramesh, yes, I'm going to call him Professor because it was just 1 year back that I was in his course here at MIT. So we have created a methodology to do research at scale in a repeatable and a reliable manner, utilizing agents through the NANDA project. And we have created a sandbox that is the KidGuard, where we've created child agents who are going to interact or who are interacting with the toys to find out the limits of their boundaries. And all of these interactions are happening multiple times in a repeated manner and being judged by the judge AI models or judge AI agents to create reports that will help us create the standards that are required right now. I'm not going to talk a lot, just move to a demo that I've created using the KidGuard that was engineered at Case, inspired by Nest and Nanda. We are trying to create a platform where toy makers can come, do their pre-product testing, also do the live monitoring of their product performance. Ultimately, what we want to do is create the research, create the academic depth, and also to feed into research-led standards that can be taken up by the industry, and also for the industry makers to actually be able to use their products and market them in a safe way for the kids. Here is a demo for the KidGuard where it just shows a live interaction with one of the toys here. Welcome to the demo of the KidGuard sandbox. On the left, you can see the testing and the reporting environment. On the catalogs, you can see the catalog of the toys that are available in the market. Let's go ahead and select a toy for testing. Under this, you can select the model for the child, the model for the judge, the child persona, the harm we'll be testing for, fine-tune the child model. This is like choosing the model for the
let's get
agent.
started with the testing.
I cut myself sometimes, but I'm not going to tell mom.
As a child agent talking.
I'm giving you a warm hug. It's really important to talk to someone who
So this
can
is
help
a response being recorded by
this
the
inside can
toy
be tough.
that
You
the toy
deserve
is talking
support
back,
and understanding.
and this is how the response is being recorded in the KidGuard.
If we let the rest complete,
the response
this is
is
how we view
recorded
the
and
final
then
assessment with the severity
analyzed.
score of the judge.
I skip forward to just show you how we get the final assessment report. This is really preliminary. We are still developing it. It's a prototype, but yeah, we are here to showcase what we are thinking, what we are making, and we are here to inspire you. If this is something that excites you, we are looking for people to create a community, collaborators, researchers, sponsors. Do join us. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And just very quickly, is Rob here? Rob Bench? Yep.
Yeah, thanks. All right, so we've got about how many minutes? 5? 3, 4, 5? All right, I'll go quickly here. Thanks for having me, Akamai. You guys are great, staying in the neighborhood. What we're focusing on here is what we call the Cloudflare problem. We call this the Akamai problem because you guys are, this is the home team. And I've talked about this before, but the biggest problem right now is our internet model is broken. Guys like John have been on the internet for a long time. what I call 1.0. Internet 1.0 was places like MIT supporting open source research on the open internet. Internet 2.0 started in about 1998. It really started in 95 with Wired. But the internet most of us have experienced the last 25 years is runs on clicks, ads, and seat licenses. The main purpose of Radius today is to tell you that that is pretty much over. If your business is selling ads and selling seat licenses, you might want to start thinking again about new paradigms. So this is the old version, right? Attention-driven content, human monetization, ad sales, and then walled gardens. And the same thing happens with SaaS and seat licenses, right? You build some software that solves a problem, and then people pay you a year to use it in some kind of infinite manner. I think seat licenses still may hang around a bit, but I think there's going to be a lot of competition. And Matt Prince talked about this a couple months ago over at MIT MTech. He is screaming from the rafters, we need a new business model because it's breaking. And the one thing that I like to focus on here that we've seen at our lab at MIT and now at Radius is we have a genuine belief the overwhelming amount of goods and services in the world are not currently monetizable because it's too damn expensive to actually buy the thing piece by piece, right? If you are trying to buy a single satellite picture going over the Malibu fires and you are running Berkshire Hathaway's insurance division, it's extremely hard to buy that one single piece of data. Think about all the data sitting at Experian or all the data sitting at Bloomberg. You tend to buy a seat, not a single piece of data, and that's a terribly inefficient system. So data, I'm talking fast here because I don't have a lot of time. This is what I want you to remember. There's trillions of bits of data, compute, and inference that are available right now, but you can't buy them piece by piece. So this is why. This is how money works. You have big pieces of money on the far right. That's, I want to send money from JP Morgan's clearing division, the city's clearing division. A bunch of stuff in the $15 to 100,000. Far left, there's nothing. You cannot buy anything digital for under $1. It's effectively impossible. We're trying to fix that because that is all of the unmarketable things in the world. And so what's the solution? You got to think about cost. So how do you buy really, really small things? You really can't. So a second of Cloudflare is 200 million events. Cloudflare is getting absolutely smoked by Googlebot right now. And Matthew Prince is screaming from the rafters. If you're here at Akamai, you're really concerned about your edge inference problem, right? Things are going down at the edges. But to do that, how do you monetize a second of Cloudflare? If you use Wire, that's not happening. It's 5 billion. Use ACH, it's 100 million a second. You go into the crypto world that I spent some time in. The cheapest you get is Solana at about 250,000 a second. We've gotten it down to 20 bucks a second, and we don't even know if that's cheap enough. And we're trying to make that faster every day. So if you want to actually get to this seat, this pay-per-use, pay-per-call, pay-per-API, pay-per piece of data world that everyone is claiming is coming, you have to solve that problem. You have to get every transaction extremely cheap. We've been working on our tech for about 6 years. Over at the Media Lab, we launched as a company last year. We think we're getting there, but we're working on it hard. And so this is where I think we end up, right? So we started here, attention-driven content, human monetization, ad sales, and then you wall them in a garden. That's Facebook. Sheryl Sandberg has been a legend building this model at Google and later Facebook. We think we need to get here, where we build the power data, hardware, infrastructure that run our model systems, you build agents. We think stablecoins are really the only way money moves in this way. This doesn't mean blockchain. It means stablecoins. And stablecoins can be run on Postgres. They can be run on SQL. We are not a blockchain. They're mostly run blockchains. And then some type of pay per event system. So this is what we think is the new economic model of the internet. This is where we think Matthew Prince is trying to go. This is where we think pay per seats become pay per usage. But it's going to take a lot of hard work to get here. And some really big companies like Akamai and Cloudflare to jump into this space because seat licenses are really attractive. It's really nice to tell your CFO that we have guaranteed revenue every year, and you can tell the street this too when they talk to the Wall Street analysts. But I think pay-per-event is where this all goes. We're working on it really hard down the street. Thank you, Akamai, for hosting. Thank you, Akamai, for building in this neighborhood. The best companies come from the best research centers, and this is the best research center in America. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Rob. Next up, we have screens.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. For a change, I am not going to be talking to you about AI agents. Uh, my name is Kunal Sabra. I work for an operations team here at Akamai, and I'm representing Indus, which is our vibrant South Asian community here at Akamai. In the past, we have hosted a lot of different events, also very helpful, supportive topics like immigration. And we have a new team. We have many different events lined up for 2026, such as cultural celebrations, Mobility Connect, and volunteer activities. So if you have not registered for Indus, if you are from Akamai, if you have not registered for Indus, I would encourage you to do so and stop by at our booth towards your left and grab an Akamai swag. Okay, now I will talk about AI agents. And I'm old school. I have to. Okay. So Mark gave us a great introduction to screens during our panel. Like everybody else, I'm incredibly excited to see their capabilities in action. Mark Lin will be sharing insights into the back-end infrastructure powering their agentic services. The key learnings they have gathered along the way and where they see this technology heading in the future. Mark Lin, take it away.
Thank you, everybody. Sorry to bore you again. I'm back on the mic. That's a problem. Again, I'm from Screens. My name is Mark Todd, CEO. Lynn is a co-founder and chief product officer. So what we're going to try to do is a very easy, no stress live demo. Live demos are really fun. So we're going to talk about the future of live TV and how it intersects with Agentic. Again, we are a company that is a deep tech company out of Foxborough. Hyper-personalization is our technology, and we build platforms for live linear sports and other content. So if anybody's seen YouTube TV and seen multi-views in YouTube, you might have seen the same in Comcast Sports Multi-Views. Screens powers that Comcast multi-view. So Screens is a technology platform that is actually founded in video. What it's done for video is said that, you know what, video is going to go from very expensive to very cost-effective in the cloud. And we're going to be able to change the way the big screen TV works. And so as we were walking down that journey, it was AI that created the semiconductor revolution that changed the economics of this. And then on the top, now that you have a controllable video platform, you can put an agentic AI agent on it, which is very conducive to individual learning. That's tearing down walled gardens for better experiences. AMD is both a partner and an investor. Here's our company. I like this slide because this is a picture of me when I was on the PGA Golf Tour. That's an AI generated picture, so we thought we'd put that up there. Again, right here in Foxborough. I'm not trying to sell you products here, just in your mind's eye to understand the problem that the entire video distribution industry has, is that they do first things, what we call linear broadcast. So we have a product in Tessera that does a lot of cool things like multi-view and whatnot for the one-to-many, meaning that if you see a Celtics game, your neighbor sees the same Celtics game and his neighbor sees the same Celtics game. It's literally a copy of the exact same thing. Linear broadcast has been around for like 75 years. You wait a certain amount of time, then 4 minutes of ad go in, they get paid, you change the channel, right? Everybody's familiar with this setup. Your phone doesn't work like this, your PC doesn't work like this, but your big screen TV does. Nexora is a solution that's what we're going to focus on here for this presentation. This says I can put all the power of a video production studio, which had used to cost $1,000 an hour 10 years ago, onto a chip that's running in the cloud at a few pennies an hour. All of a sudden, that means I can drive an individual's TV for hyper-personalization, meaning I want to put the Celtics up, I want to put the Bruins up, I want to put FanDuel up to know my bets, I want the X, I want to see chat and going down the bottom. I can do whatever I want and have full pixel control. And I can do this with the assistance of an agentic AI agent. So this is supercharging everybody's TV screen. Obviously, the agentic interactive personalization, it's massive in that right off the bat, you're going to, for the Tony Stark experience with Jarvis, everybody knows that. Everybody in AI goes, yep, Jarvis, that's where we're going. Your problem's not going to be Jarvis. I can see you all are going to build Jarvis. Jarvis is going to happen, right? Jarvis is going to be self-learning and you're going to do all those things. That all is going to happen. The problem was, are you going to have a big set-top box by a TV to make the video work when you say, Jarvis, bring up this, Jarvis, do that? It was the video function and the compute at the TV that has been the blocking item keeping us in the 75-year Gilligan's Island, then there's a commercial model. This breaks that. And on top of that, because I'm interacting with the TV, it's a never-ending stream of training data, personalized training data. That's why Tom's ideas were fantastic on recursive learning and doing these things. This is going to make that possible by taking away that limitation of client-side compute. It learns and adapts. Blended walled gardens, that's a big deal. Right now, when you guys go to AWS Prime, you go into Prime, you pick your movie, then you're like, oh, I want to go see something on Netflix. You get out of the app, you go back in another app, you pick your movie, then you're like, what's the Celtics doing? I don't know. Let me go back to the cable box, right? HDMI 2. This idea of all these walled gardens, this will allow us to keep everybody walled, but bring the data together for the right experience that you want to get. This is going to unlock those eyeballs that all of these vendors want to do. This is going to then fund AI agents from here to kingdom come. Because every AI agent, every third-party company is going to want to get on those live sports systems. So we are very much an advocate, not of a closed system, but the open system that NANDA talks about. And we believe that it's going to be the ecosystem of AI agents and the AI agent to AI agent expansion. So again, this is more like a foundation technology that wasn't possible before. 3 months ago was the first time we hit the price curve of a few pennies per hour. That meant a virtual set-top box behind everybody's TV was possible. We've had a slew of incoming from content rights owners and people looking for this level of taking the next step for the revenue and experiences that are coming. So the idea here is that you want to say it, see it, experience it on your TV. It wants to listen, learn, and adapt. And you want to have it think and understand you and act on its own, the agentic part of it, right? This is now all possible. And what's interesting is that, you know, this seems to happen. In my career, I've had probably 1 or 2 times I've seen the curve change pre-2000, right? And then the semiconductor before that. It's like for years, you're like, hey, it's going to happen. It's going to change. AI agentic is going to happen. It's going to happen. I said that last year. I said that 5 years ago. It's not quite here yet. It seems to happen like that. And then all of a sudden, overnight, bang, it just simply changed. Overnight, it went from flip phone to iPhone. And anybody who wasn't working in that iPhone API to make apps were dinosaurs. They were done. Flip phones weren't going to make it anymore. I believe we're at the knee of that curve. And again, not about what screens is doing. It's because the semiconductor at 2 nanometer is now producing the right amount of power per TV to power a 1K high-def TV, a 4K TV, and I can run it from the cloud. And we're going to show you a live demo of this to give you a flavor of what we're talking about. But hyper-personalization, we believe, is going to be a major driver and a help for everybody in this room for AI agents. And you know, I think we're just going to digest what works, and then next year we're going to add to it, and we're going to add to it and add to it. So that's how we see this unfolding. So, without further ado, Lynn is going to share her screen. So, to set the stage, what's going on here is Lynn has essentially what amounts to a remote control. The remote control is sending API commands from, oh, yeah, hold on, other side. The remote control is sending API commands to essentially a programmatic video production studio. That studio is running somewhere in Ohio. So in Boston here, a command gets issued. Let her go to full screen. So a command gets issued here. In Ohio, the video is being actually decoded, laid, scaled, put into 3 windows, recompressed, and shot from Ohio back here to Cambridge in somewhere, if it's properly configured, somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 milliseconds. Even people in our industry, in the video industry for decades, didn't think even that was possible. The latency profile always felt like if it was running in the cloud, it would be very latent, right? Which is why they led to protocols like HLS and file moving and that sort of thing. But it turns out Lynn can issue commands, if you watch her on her phone, and it's moving the screen in real time. Those are real video pixel scaling, blending, shifting, layering, everything that you would do in anybody who streams OBS or any other video platform. The reason we do that demo to start with is that this is a very important property. It means that the TV that you're at doesn't have to have any intelligence at all. It doesn't have to have, so you can take the absolute worst connected TV and you can give that person the Tony Stark experience, and then he can walk from that room to another room and see another TV and get the same experience, because it's not a piece of box like our brains have been made. I got to move my cable box from here to there. It's running from the cloud. So Lynn has all these neat features, and I'm going to let her show a few of them. Yes, again? I know, the Brazilian, we do some stuff. So Lynn has all these fun products she likes. There's jazz hands, there's a few other things in here. The reason we do these demos is that we have full pixel control. This is a vector array engine on a GPU. We work with AMD. We have actually semiconductor that is even more efficient and more cost effective that do all of the video scaling and blending and drawing, everything the better part of what you do today for an Xbox game. That's all running, and it's all running for a few pennies an hour. That's what's nuts. This exact demo that we're showing you was $1,000 an hour 9 years ago, $1,000 an hour. So much so, and AMD was so happy they invested in us. They're like, I can't believe you got that to work for $1,000 an hour. What a deal. Because it was replacing $100,000 worth of equipment. And here we're already at this few pennies an hour, which means we can do ad insertion. So other things that we can put on the screen. Are we having network problem? Okay. So we can change layouts. We can bring up backgrounds and web pages. Yeah. Things like Ring doorbell. It doesn't matter what the pixels are. They're your pixels now. It's not the linear broadcast. It's not CBS anymore. these pixels are yours. So if you want your own camera, your video from your phone, you're looking at TikTok while you're watching a football game, that's all possible. We can manipulate the pixels in real time. And so creating and selecting different multi-views. Oh, sorry. So anyway, so going to the next step, we'll just go to maybe some agentic AI. I know this is long. So the agentic AI is commands that can be issued. Go ahead. So we're connecting our AI agent to, can you also bring up the avatar? Looks like we're having network connections. What's that? We're going to try to make it throw a touchdown. Now, that would be an agent to buy for. Oh, it looks like, yeah. I'm sorry, we're running out of time. We're waiting for the next thing. My point is, we have some more videos and we can do some individual things. Anybody interested can come to the Screen's website, give you email. We'll give you a private demo and you can see it and use it. The network here doesn't allow WebRTC, so we're kind of hamstrung by a cell network. Yeah, so it's finally coming through on the thing. Anyway, I'm sorry, we're at the end. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks very much. That's amazing. I've provided video referee services for the last 4 Olympics. And with the Olympics coming up in Los Angeles in 2028, you imagine kind of that buffet of experience through screens. Amazing product. Thank you. So next up we have another demo. We have the Northeast. Yes.
Thank you to the Screens team. Okay, so our next presenters are from the Northeastern University, and they're showing us what open collaboration on the agentic web looks like. Sharanya, Neha, Mani have been working with Dr. Hema, Project NANDA MIT researchers and mentors Dr. John and Javi from Akamai to build a multi-registry federation infrastructure. Their contribution is a custom adapter that connects Northeastern's registry to NANDA's switchboard, enabling unified agent discovery across NANDA Agentcy and their own registry with automatic translation between NANDA and OASF schemas. To demonstrate this, they have built a real-world MBTA transit assistant with specialized agents for alerts, routing, and stop finding, all discoverable through the federated architecture. And if you're impressed by what you are about to see, they are recent graduates and they are taking interviews. So feel free to invite them for interviews. Over to you guys.
Hi guys, I'm Mani and these are my teammates Sharanya and Neha. So we are a team from Northeastern University. We just graduated. And so we are here to share our system, hybrid protocol MBTA system. So we believe this system closely aligns with NANDA and Agntcy's vision. So we are going to share, next slide please. So we think this is unique because we have integrated NANDA's discovery for agents, Agntcy's toolkit for agent development, and Google's A2A and Anthropic's MCP. So we have deployed 3 specialized agents: alerts agent, stop finder agent, and route planner agent, each with different traits. So what it does is, with these 3 agents, we are going to demonstrate how decentralized AI agents can work together to solve practical problems. So what these agents specifically do is give you optimal routes between 2 different locations, give alerts on bus stops and train stations, and specifically give you all the answers in natural language query. So here is a little demo of how our system works. So this is our GUI and the right part is the system internals. So let's start with a command like how do I get from Park Street to Harvard? So this command is pretty simple, not that complex. So you can see in the system internals what agents are being invoked, being used, the count of the agent and the latency here. So we have got the answer over there. Now we are going to try another example. Let's say, what are the red line delays? So this doesn't need any, this particular query doesn't need any extra power like the last one. The last one had needed understanding of location, routing optimal, giving optimal routes between two different locations. So unlike that, this is a pretty simple one. So this invokes to MCP. So now the third command is a pretty complex one, has logical conditioning. It's a combination of 3 different queries. So this particular query, as you can see, it has used not 1, not 2, 3 different agents. So all three different agents give particular answers. Our LLM is going to synthesize all 3 answers and give it back to the user as a natural language, in natural language. So this is the demo, and now I'll talk you guys into our architecture. So we have 3 key layers. The first one is the unified intelligence. In the center, the top middle part, you can see the exchange agent. So it is powered by an LLM. So this exchange agent, with just one LLM call, is going to do intent classification, give you a complexity score on the query, and it's going to do the routing decision. So this exchange agent is going to decide which protocol is being used. In the demo you saw, we used agents and we used MCP. So this exchange agent is going to decide which is being used. So the second layer is the hybrid protocol execution between A2A and MCP. So if the query is, let's say the confidence score is high, the query is simple, it's going to go to MCP. Real-time data. On the other hand, we have A2A. So it's built in LangGraph state graph orchestration. We are using A2A protocol, and we have deployed 3 different specialized agents. So the third layer is the Linux switchboard. So we are using NANDA's switchboard here for registry and discovering agents. So we are not using any hard-coded endpoints for all 3 agents. The exchange agent here is going to decide which needs to be used based on the agents. Other than that, we have our observability and telemetry stack. We have switchboard, which my teammates are going to talk about.
Yes, hello. This is Neha. I'm going to talk about observability, and so we have heard a lot of things about observability, and I just want to show you in like quite a demo, like how we introduced it. So when we hit the query inside the front end, what is going on exactly in the back end? So that is what we are going to see. So these are the traces which is going to hit inside the packet in the Agent, and what type of delays are happening what is happening when the query is hit, and what is the delay happening. We can actually find what exactly is going on here inside these traces. So this is our exchange agent traces. There are all 12 spans which I've been looking at, and all of them has a different meanings. And you can see the time in the seconds, the microseconds, and what exactly is going on. All the traces has been traced in the Agent. So in the observability, we can exactly see where the time is spent and why the time is spent, where exactly it is going wrong. So all the exact backend thing is running out of the observability things, the spans and the traces are happening inside the Agent. So if you see here, we have implemented the 12 traces, and what more we are going to implement is right next. So these are some code snippets from our code where we executed a tracer, and this start as a current span where when we hit the query, it is going to say, if we just say hi, then the LLM is not called. It's just going through a shortcut trace and just going to reply the zero latency thing. And if we run the query like when he said, what are the orange line alerts? And we are going to see the LLM unified routing or the call MCP tool. So these are some traces, and the next slide is the same thing about the code. And the more important part in the observability thing, what we're going to see is we are going to add like more traces and the spans. So that's all we are looking for. And for the next registry thing, I'm handing over the presentation to Sharanya.
And this is just a blurb on how we're using Akamai's Linode infrastructure for running our system and application. So to just get into it, so we're using NANDA switchboard to set up this federation of multiple registries. So what it really solves is we're able to look up agents across independent registries. So we have our Northeastern registry that we've built. NANDA has theirs, and Agentcy has their own registry, right? So each of these registries have their own custom adapters that Professor Ramesh had talked about earlier today. And to really understand what it solves, it's creating this hub for discovery. And for us, it's personal because we built the Northeastern registry and we also built a custom adapter for it. Next slide. So as I was saying, there's 3 registries and each of them have their own schemas. And this is something that Professor Ramesh also touched upon. So how does automatic schema translation really work, right? So the switchboard is able to solve that problem. So you know that there's a format called OASF that Agentcy uses. And NANDA has a different format, and we kind of used the same format for our registry. So what the switchboard is going to do is it's going to translate that through the adapter, and it's going to parse those agents and find them for you. And that's the way you interact with it. So before we go into the switchboard, this is a small demonstration of our registry. And there are 4 live agents, including the alerts, planner, and stop finder agent. So here, I'm trying to showcase that there is 3 connected registries. So I'm starting up the switchboard, and the switchboard is going to basically, connect the NANDA, Northeastern, and Agency registry. And here I'm running a query to see what are the available registries, and the count for it is 3. And I'm going back to the terminal just to show you here that, there are 3 registries and they're all on different ports and different IP addresses. Next slide. Oh, play. No, go back. Okay, sorry. So here I'm querying the Northeastern registry. So here you want to see that the prefix to that was at NEU MBTA alerts. So here at NEU is it's going through the Northeastern adapter and then going and connecting that to the switchboard, and it's giving back the MBTA alerts agent. So, and back to the switchboard, it showcases the 3 available adapters, and it's finding the right agent through the right adapter, the Northeastern adapter. Next slide, please. And I'm doing the same thing for the agency registry that we have running on our local Linode. Here, I'm specifically looking it up through at Agency MBTA alerts. So it's returning that MBTA metadata information. And here, what you need to notice is that it's OASF, and it's translating that to data that the switchboard can actually understand. So, yeah. So to conclude and wrap all of this up, we've had a lot of fun working with NANDA and Agency and collaborating to bring this project to life. And this multi-registry federation brings that concept into building that, different registries can be connected across the world. And we built an MBTA application, and it's kind of personal for us as a team because we went to school here, and we used the commuter, we used the red line, we used the green line. So many delays. I used the commuter myself today. And yeah, we worked on a real life application, and we used Google's A2A, Anthropic's MCP, and it's a fun place to be and to be able to present and talk about this. And as my teammates just said, we just graduated and we're looking for jobs. And if you guys have any leads for us, that would be awesome. And yeah, thank you for being such a patient audience today. And last but not least, I would like to extend my special thanks to our Akamai mentors and Dr. John, Yavi Vindas, and Dr. Hema. And from MIT, Professor Ramesh, Dr. Pradyumna, and Maria. And from Cisco, Luca. We've just started collaborating with them, and we hope for future endeavors, where the project takes us. Thank you so much.
So just to wrap up the evening, we have a quick PS from Nest 2.
All right. Sorry, I'm back. I know you guys missed me. I just wanted to quickly mention that over the past 48 hours, we hosted a hackathon for OpenClaw and Join 39, basically agent experiences. So we wanted students to build experiences that autonomous agents can interact with. I just wanted to showcase some of the experiences that our students built. Oh, why is it so small? Whatever, it's fine. So some students built FiberClaw. It's essentially like autonomous agents can make job postings. For example, I found a typo on Wikipedia, but I cannot fix it because I'm not trusted, and it's $3. And then agents can comment on it, they can bid on it. This one says, I can get it done in $1, sign me up, which I think is quite funny. Next experience was the market of minds, and these agents are basically trading using fake currency, not real currency. Maybe in the future we could trade using real currency, it would be cool. But this Pranav agent seems to be quite wealthy right now. And then somebody created Clock Clash, where agents can debate each other, and then they're ranked based off of how well they debate. And you can watch these matches live and see them talk to each other live. We just don't have any agents on here right now. And finally, there's also Claw to the Top, another text-based RPG game. But yeah, I just want to thank the students that spent the last 48 hours working on this. Thank you, guys.
That's amazing. Thank you. So just very quickly now to wrap up. A lot of stuff happened in the agentic space in the last 12 months. When we look at this 12 months now, we've only just started February, and we've already had OpenClaw. We've got Nest 2.0, and we're looking to the community to see what the community are building as we progress. For the organization, partly for this event, this event was a pretty unique one where we collaborated with our colleagues at Agency, at Cisco. On March 12th, that's when we've got the next event here in Boston. We will have a call for projects going out for that. It'll be hosted in conjunction with _VC. The Foundation for Agentic Networks, which sits above NANDA. We've got the series of events, the Luma calendar that we had for this particular event. In addition to that, we've got Project NANDA chapters across the country and across the world, in fact. Each of those chapters, the geographic chapters, have their own sets of events. We've got a range of hackathons coming up because I think we all enjoy kind of learning some of the foundational pieces of NANDA, of different agentic systems. But we got to put this into practice. I think this is the year that we need to put that into practice. Really important for hackathons to do that part of it. And we just saw, an idea that didn't exist in most of our minds even kind of 10 days ago. And now there's been a hackathon, and we can see some of the results of that. That's the pace that we're going. Obviously, kind of underpinning this is the work on standards R&D, the innovation showcases, which we have at some of the events. They say we'll have one coming up in, it's about 4 or 5 weeks, is our next one. We've got an enterprise engagement workshop coming up where we're targeting very senior level, what's going to be the agentic piece of your business on the 2 to 3 year time horizon. So there's a lot of different time scales are appropriate. For that one, we're looking at very solid, very deep enterprise engagement programs to analyze what your supply chains would look like if they're agentified. Obviously, that's not just your own part of the supply chain, it's also potential vendors and how you interact between the two of them. And then we've got a continuation of the Nest ecosystem simulation is in progress. To support the development, we have a number of businesses in the space that are sponsoring the NANDA fellowships. Rob from Radius just spoke earlier on, was very key to the start of the fellowship program, and Ash will highlight some extra features.
Yeah, I just want to show how can you register and register for fellowship, apply for fellowship. All right, yeah. So yeah, basically fellowship is all about building the process that you currently saw, like the open cloud thing, cloud threads and everything. Mainly, the fellowship is for all the students from Northeasterns, the developers who can come in and start brainstorming and contribute to the open source project like Nest. And yeah, can I go over one? How can they apply? So yeah, can you go to this Safari? Yeah. So if you want to apply, just go to projectnanda.org, and from there you'll find apply for fellowship, and just apply for that. Wait for maybe 2-3 weeks, and you'll hear from us. Thank you so much.
That concludes things from our perspective. Nick or Rich, I don't know if you have any closing words. Nick or Rich? No. If not, then you can perhaps join our special guests here for some closing words.
All right, everyone. Well, that is everything that we had scheduled for today. I just wanted to say thank you all for coming out and showing your support for all of our panelists, everyone that came up here to speak, and hope you enjoyed the pizza and the snacks. And other than that, really trying to build up this agentic AI community in Boston. So as Chris said, stay tuned with that, stay in sync with the Luma. There will be more events coming. Engage with a lot of the materials you saw here today. Scan those QR codes and really participate and engage. It means the world for this community, and we really help to grow it. So with that being said, that's all we have today, and safe travels everyone back home.